welcome to the April Fool's Day edition here of News from the Front Lines of Business by DW Huff Consulting. The week has gone by here and looks like we survived it. My fun with numbers is actually, I didn't write it down there, but it's really three groups here in our annual Irish-Islenos-Italian Parade. Got postponed until Sunday instead of Saturday, but it's going to be rolling, so this weekend we'll be enjoying that. So that's kind of my fun number there, and I forget how many years this parade's been rolling, but it's 52 floats, so it's a big parade. A lot of produce and a good time. The weather should be gorgeous on Sunday, so looking forward to taking a little break. All right, so as far as our news goes, a couple observations for the week here. With Elon Musk has been in the news quite a bit with his kind of a Twitter feud that's going on between Elizabeth Warren and him, as well as Bernie Sanders. Kind of funny. So we see this, there's this talk out there about him not paying any tax, and he's catching a lot of flack from some of the more liberal politicians. But the reality of it is that he paid plenty of tax. So in 2020 is $11 billion. His estimate for this coming tax season is $7.6 billion. So even though he might be able to take advantage of parts of the tax code to get him into a lower bracket than some people, he's still paying a decent amount of tax. In addition to all the other things that go into at the business level, the tax that he pays. So it ends up that it's been a complete falsehood there, and really he is paying plenty of taxes. So. Anyway, so you'll see more of that, and he's got some interesting quotes, and for being such an eccentric kind of guy, he's got some good, pretty good points with a lot of things, tax-wise at least. Next, we also see in there are the Build Back Better, the BBB thing we talked about a while back that we really didn't like. There's been kind of a reincarnation of it. And it's better than it was before, so it's some of the least favorable things have been removed from it. But this next thing that we see, and forgive me if it's a little hard to read there, but there's this 20% minimum tax on billionaires, and plenty of controversy there because once it's going to be hard to even monitor who is a billionaire, number one, because a lot of these assets that people own that are high net worth are hard to value. They may have closely held interests in businesses and things that are not publicly traded. So challenges all the way around. But at the end of the day, there's going to be a surtax that's being proposed here. That's added on to the assets that you have. So not the income that you have earned, but assets that you have that have gone up in value that might potentially generate some capital gain income in the future are now going to be taxed, while you're holding them. So all sorts of problems with that idea, and we're curious to see what the actual details are going to be of it. But think about how it works. So whether you're a billionaire or not, if you have a building or some closely held stock that's really going up in value, that's not money that you have available to you. That's this physical thing that you're not going to be taxed on. So where's that money going to come from? Well, you might have to sell off an asset at an inopportune time. You might have to borrow money. So it causes some potential problems that cash flow wise that just make it not really, it doesn't seem like it makes sense, and it seems very tedious to implement, but it does seem to make the politicians that feel like rich people don't pay enough tax, seems to make them somewhat happy. But so that was it for that. So as far as the stuff goes on in the tax world, everything's going pretty well there as far as filing and processing of things. But I want to share another discussion topic. So as we're talking about taxable people and investment stuff comes to play in the taxation, we provide some guidance on things that they should be doing with their investments. The discussion came up with a client, and he's looking at the option. Actually, twice this came up this week, but there's a possibility of paying off the rest of the mortgage on his house. So in both cases, these taxpayers were pretty close, but not quite there. They had some other assets they could have tapped into to generate the cash to do this, and their whole thought was, well, if I pay off this loan here, I own this asset. And the more I think about it, it's if you have the money available, I'll prefer to kind of keep that handy, to be used other places. Because think about, and this is what also came out of that discussion. What do you really own? All right, so if you got the thing paid off, you control it. So there's a difference between owning something and controlling it, is in my opinion. So, but you pay it off, you still got to pay property taxes. So if you think if at any given time you think you have to own something, you're just done. I would suggest that you skip paying property taxes for a few years and see what happens. I can tell you what happens. At some point in time, the sheriff comes and takes your property, and it goes off to an auction, and you don't have that property anymore, and you lose whatever equity you had in it. So there's always an ongoing cost there. And the same thing, I guess, in a similar matter goes to looking at a car loan. You think you own that car, but don't pay insurance or registration for a while. At some point, you're going to get pulled over for something, and put one of those stickers on your car or haul it off to the impound yard. So money in a bank even. You think, okay, well, it's not like a car loan where I got to register every year, or a piece of property that I have to pay tax on. But something happens, you get in trouble, and some sort of judgment or civil asset forfeiture happens if you somehow get roped in any kind of illegal activity or even suspected illegal activity. And the government agencies can just seize your bank account, levy. And we've seen that happen in the tax world a few times, where every once in a while somebody will get behind on something, and maybe it's a certain type of payroll tax, and while they're going through the dispute process, something happens in the background where there's a miscommunication, and all of a sudden there's a levy on the account, and the assets are gone. So that brought me to, I guess, the revelation here as we're talking to these clients, is that controlling these assets is really what we aim for here. So and I guess the reason why that came up is when we're talking about paying off a loan. Well, leverage, some people will say having a loan is bad, and it's you're paying interest, and it bothers them to have to make these payments. But if you have just enough money tied up in the asset that you can control it, so in the case of a real estate or a car, you can do what you want with that car. You can rent that real estate out and make money off of it. You've got control of the asset. So I guess we want to always keep in mind that there's always going to be some kind of cost involved. So we want to make sure that we have enough money involved so that we can control the asset, control what goes on with it, use it to make more money, do whatever you want. But leverage isn't necessarily a bad thing. So if that leverage allows us to have cash available to keep paying the taxes and keep paying the registrations and keep the asset available to us so we can use it, because there's, about having a little bit of a loan that we're paying back over time, and keeping some of our cash in reserve and ready to go, that is not a bad way to do things. So having some leverage isn't always terrible, and control. So I hesitate to as I think back on this, say that we own anything, because really at the end of the day, the best you can hope to do is control the asset, and maybe even if you have equity in it, borrow against it, and do utilize it to generate money to do what you really want to do. So that's just a thought about ownership and control. All right, so my closing thought here, we're gonna get back to work here, but one of the Stoic philosophers here, Epictetus, this quote here is, progress is not achieved by luck or accident, but by working on yourself daily. So that is very much in tune with my thoughts here, and knowing my numbers, and how as I run my business, I'm trying to look at things every day. And don't get too hung up on the long range goal, even though some of those numbers that I have in mind for my business, and I guess everybody does, are kind of big. But there's always some step you can take towards those goals every day, right? So working on improving yourself is, I guess, what Epictetus is getting at here. But I guess you can also take that parallel and run it out to your business and your finances and all your goals there for your net worth. So with that is it for this week. Very hectic week here. April 1st, 18 more days till tax season is officially over. So cannot wait. So with that, have a great weekend, and we'll see you out here next week. Bye.